Be forewarned. If you are easily upset or don't have the stomach for controversy, do not listen to this program.
You're going to have conspiracy theories as soon as the assassination occurs. The Trump supporters, they're going to be out in the streets, and there's going to be a civil war.
I can hear him say,
Show starring Jim Greenfield, star of The Decline and Fall of America, with my producer, Stuart Rice, formerly known as Stuart White.
Right.
Quote of the day: the most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. Almost inevitably, he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, intolerable. H.L. Mencken.
Who is H.L. Mencken?
H.L. Mencken is the guy who said, the most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. Sounds like a perfect description of me. Anyway, almost inevitably he comes to the conclusion the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, and intolerable. This is Jim Greenfield courageously leading the fight against tyranny, oppression, and homos here on The Decline and Fall of America. And our first topic comes to you from the darkest hour is just before total blackness department of The Decline and Fall of America. You know, there's been a big brouhaha about this anonymous op-ed in the New York Times, which claims that the Trump White House is in total chaos. That Trump is erratic, not very smart, mentally unstable, and that there are deep state operatives. He doesn't use the term deep state, but this is what it is. He's describing as deep state operatives who are doing everything they can to thwart Trump from accomplishing what he's trying to accomplish. And that they're doing this out of some patriotic duty to protect the country. And that if it weren't for them, things would be total chaos. Now, the thing that I'm struck by when I keep hearing them talking about anonymous this, and anonymous said that, and anonymous this. There was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Larry David show. Did you ever watch that, Stuart?
It's a brilliant show. I cannot watch more than 3 episodes at a time, though, because I start stressing out too much.
It is brilliant. And, of course, Larry David is the producer and co-creator of Seinfeld, which also had some measure of success as a show.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But they had an episode on Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David plays himself, and the show, it's kind of impromptu. It's not scripted, and you can tell it's not real polished, right? But anyway, they had this episode where Larry David has given a donation to I think it's a children's hospital. He donated enough that they named a wing of the hospital after him. And they have this big celebration, and you know, Larry David's there, and he's just so happy, and everybody's going to recognize him for the wonderful person he is. And they announced, Larry David just donated the funds for this wing of the hospital. It was going to be named after him, and he gets a polite applause. And then they announced that there's another wing of the hospital that is going to be, that the donor was anonymous. And everybody is so excited. Oh, that is so wonderful that somebody donated and didn't even want credit for it. He donated anonymously, and this wing is named after, going to be dedicated to Anonymous. Well, it quickly comes out that Anonymous is Ted Danson. Remember Ted Danson, the actor, friend of Larry David?
He was in Cheers.
Cheers, yes.
3 Men and a Baby.
But Ted Danson, the word somehow gets out, and it's obvious that Ted Danson himself is the one who put the word out, that he was in fact anonymous. And everybody there knows that it's Ted Danson, but they just think it's just so wonderful that he did it anonymously, and everybody's saying, oh, Ted, that was so magnanimous of you to do it anonymously. And so, like, Larry David is, like, made to feel, like, very small and humiliated. Now, the story goes on that Larry David has his name removed, so the wing that he had built is now named Anonymous also. And he gets into some kind of a situation where these guys are trying to beat him up because they think he stole their jacket. And he's running down the street and he sees the hospital and he tries to get in and he's banging on the door to get away from these guys who want to beat him up. And the security guard says, you can't come in here. He says, I got these guys after me. And he says, and I donated that whole wing of the hospital. Which wing? That one over there. It says, and the security guard says, it says Anonymous. So we won't let him in. But anyway, so I'm reminded of this. I'm reminded of that by Anonymous, who is this wonderful person who anonymously wrote this op-ed in order to let everybody know what's really going on. But there's another story that I think is in some way connected to this. In the Washington Post, there's a story that there are sleeper cells in the government. There are now sleeper cells in the federal government. Now, I think it's interesting that it's actually the liberal media is corroborating the paranoid conspiracy theories of conservatives who believe that there's this deep state which operates in the government and is completely out of control and answerable to no one, totally unaccountable. That's what all this Department of Justice, FBI corruption, the attempt to exonerate Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump and bring down the Trump government, and they conspired to keep Trump from winning the election. And now that he's won, they've conspired to take him down and get him impeached. This is the deep state. I've warned about the deep state for a long time. Edward Snowden warned about the deep state. They are, we've talked about this before, I'm not going to go into it, but how they're spying on everybody, collecting data on everybody. You have this enormous federal bureaucracy, which is the deep state. They're not elected, and it's now become very clear that they're not under the control of the elected officials whose control they're supposed to be under. They're actively working against the President of the United States, who was supposed to be their boss and who was elected by the people, and they weren't. So that's the problem with the deep state. Well, I have it on good authority, but this is confidential. I've learned from confidential sources. This comes from a Dredge report that it actually is much worse. As bad as it seems, it's actually much worse. First of all, the Democrats are going to take control of the House of Representatives in November. Well, that's fine. That's an election. That's the way it works. It's very common for the party out of power to win the off-year election for Congress. Fine. They're going to take control of the House. Now, everybody knows, just like everybody knows who Anonymous was, everybody knows that as soon as the Democrats take control of the House, first order of business, impeach Donald Trump. They're going to impeach him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be removed from office, because impeachment doesn't mean removal of office. It means bringing the process that could remove him from office.
The last time, and that's within the last 24? How many years?
Since Clinton, 1998.
98.
Yeah, the Republicans
impeached him.
Just total stupidity. Just a totally idiotic thing to do.
Yeah. Apart
from the merits, one way or the other. What were they thinking? But anyway, so the Democrats are going to impeach Trump. Now, this is the confidential part. If it doesn't work, and it doesn't, it's extremely unlikely that it will work, because they'd have to get 66 or 67 out of 100 votes in the Senate to agree to remove him from office. Now, unless they come up with something really dramatic, unless they come up of videos with him with an animal in bed or
eating a baby,
or unless he killed an archbishop, or unless they come up with something pretty bad, they're not going to vote to remove him from office. So I have it from a secret source that if the impeachment doesn't work, doesn't bring down Trump, that the Democrats, well, I won't say the Democrats, let's say somebody, okay? Someone is going to attempt to assassinate Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Now, they have to wait until the Democrats take control of the House before they do this. Because if Trump and Pence are out of the way, who becomes president?
Would it be
Speaker of the House?
Yeah.
Now, I know you're out there thinking, oh, no way, the Democrats aren't going to put Nancy Pelosi in as president of the United States. No, Paul Ryan won't be the speaker anymore.
Oh, that's right.
The Democrats take control of the House.
That's right. Okay.
Now they got to get Pelosi out of there. They can't make Nancy. Everybody knows Nancy Pelosi can't be president of the United States. I mean, first of all, she's chronically on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and secondly, she's manifestly addicted to pain pills. Everybody knows this.
Is that fact?
It's fact, just like everybody knows that Michelle Obama was into leathers and whips and was in a dominatrix. Same kind of fact. Okay. Now, so what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to replace Pelosi and put in somebody younger and attractive as Speaker of the House. Trump and Pence will be assassinated, and the Democratic Speaker of the House will step up to the presidency, and then in 2020, this person will be running as an incumbent for president. That's the plan. Now, this sounds like maybe it's not serious, but it is. This is real. This is going to happen. Now, I can't say for certain that this assassination attempt will succeed, but I suspect that it will. And the reality is that I did a whole episode of The Decline and Fall of America on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, where the forces arrayed against Trump are far more powerful and more widespread than the forces who wanted to destroy take down John F. Kennedy. This is going to happen. And, oh, by the way, once it happens, there's going to be a civil war. That's just an asterisk. It's going to be a civil war because the Trump people are not going to accept this. Now, think this through. You're going to have conspiracy theories abounding as soon as the assassination occurs. And they're going to be pointing, and they may be pointing in the right direction as to who actually did it. But in any case, even if they get it wrong, the Trump supporters are going to believe it. Now, do you think they're just going to say, oh, okay? They're not. They're going to be out in the streets, and there's going to be a civil war. Now, the people in power at that point are going to have to suppress anyone who is claiming that there was a conspiracy. They're going to, just like they did to Lee Harvey Oswald, they'll have the fall guy ready. This is all set up. It's got to be set up in advance. You can't just assassinate a president and then, let the chips fall where they may. It has to be planned out. You have to have forces in the government ready to deflect attention away from the people who actually committed the assassination. So it'll all be ready to go. And they're not going to allow Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, with talent on loan from God, to be out there spouting their theories as to who was behind the assassination. That ain't going to happen. They can't allow that to happen. If I'm right about this, if there's an assassination, there will be major censorship. Now, they're going to have to do it they're going to have to pass some law. They're going to have to do it in the name of some kind of fairness doctrine or whatever. There's going to have to be some legal basis to it. So get ready, buy gold and guns, store food and water, build your fallout shelter, whatever. Get right with Jesus to get ready for the apocalypse that's coming. And don't forget where you heard this. And by the way, if I'm wrong, it won't matter because nobody's going to remember. Nobody will remember if I'm wrong. But if I'm right, if I'm right,
softball prediction. It's like, hey, it's either going to be Armageddon, we'll all be dead, or not. I think it's bold, man. That is a bold prediction.
Look, I pride myself that what my skill is looking at the world and seeing what's happening and understanding what the trends are. The amount of hatred towards Donald Trump, the amount of violent hatred towards Donald Trump is like nothing I've ever seen. Now, a lot of people hated Lyndon Johnson.
I honestly feel like there was just as much, maybe not as many people, but just as much hatred for Obama as there is for Trump. These are two completely divisive people.
No, but the hatred for Obama was limited to conservatives, and even most Republican politicians were very, very careful about criticizing Obama because they didn't want to be accused of racism. Now you had strong verbal attacks against Obama from talk radio hosts, and you had some of it on Fox News, but it was nothing like this. I mean, this is just. Some of the stuff that's over there, they're blaming him now for Hurricane Florence. I mean, this is nuts. And they're saying that, did you ever hear anybody saying we should invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Obama from office because he was psychiatrically unstable? No, there was never anything that was that crazy. There was never any talk from any serious person about impeaching Obama. So it wasn't anywhere near the level. But look, think about the negativity towards some of our past presidents. Richard Nixon, who was forced to resign from office. There was a lot of negativity against him. Lyndon Johnson, who didn't run for re-election because there was so much negativity against him. Abraham Lincoln, there was a small incident called the Civil War because the South could not accept that this was the president. But this is just something like nothing I've ever seen before, and I just okay. We'll see.
I mean, we'll
see.
Possibly we will see. I don't think that. I feel like impeachment's always. I don't know. When does it actually work? I don't know when it actually ever works. It seems to put us in a tailspin. And it doesn't.
No, that's right. They've never removed
the president.
But Nixon would have been impeached and would have been convicted and would have been removed from office, and he knew it, and that's why he stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the Republican senators, went to see him and said, "You have to step down for the good of the country. You have to step down. You're going to be, when your own party is telling you, the senators from your own party are telling you, then you got to do it."
How do you think they'll do it?
Do what? Assassinate Trump?
Yeah. Like, what do you do? Like, poison his Kentucky Fried Chicken?
You think I might get a visit from the Secret Service?
I don't know.
After posting this?
I don't know. You don't have any beef with Trump, do you?
Mm-mm. I mean, look, during the Republican primaries, I was hitting him pretty hard. I think, we've talked about this before. He's got serious character flaws, but I'm going to talk about this a little more in a future episode. I judge him, if you judge him by his language and how he goes after people and the mean things he says, he comes across as a bit of a jerk. On the other hand, he also comes across as a regular guy, which is sort of refreshing because people are tired of stuffed shirt politicians who all sound like they went to Harvard or Yale, which most of them did. And it's nice to have a guy who talks like a plumber. It's refreshing. So, kind of like that. But, the personal attacks, I was always troubled by the vicious personal attacks. But I judge a president primarily by his policies. And so I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this in a subsequent episode. How are we going to judge Trump? By his words or by his policies and what the effect they're having on the country? Which, for the most part, have been overall, most of them have been pretty good. Some of them not so good. But
I don't know. You talk to people in my industry, they don't like it so much.
No. I'm sure that people in the porn industry aren't that happy about it.
Do you know the price of latex rubbers have gone up?
No, I didn't know that. I don't buy them. Okay, the next item comes to you from the. Well, should we do this as a separate episode? Okay, this is Jim Green. No, it's not. It's Jim Greenfield. Fighting for the principles that have made me great. Here on The Decline and Fall of America, starring Jim Greenfield and my producer, Stuart Rice. Well, it's not starring him, it's starring me, but he's my producer. Without Stuart, I want to thank Stuart for making this show impossible.
You're welcome for listening to another brilliant installment of The Decline and Fall of America starring Jim Greenfield, formerly known as The Jim Greenfield Show. If you have a topic you would like Jim to talk about, or if you think Jim is brilliant and want to cheer him on, or you think Jim is an idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about, send an email to jimgreenfieldshowpodcast@gmail.com, follow the show on Facebook at Decline and Fall of America, or on Twitter at JGS Podcast, or you can call and leave a message for Jim at 503-512-0811, and your message will likely get played on the show. And now, our beautiful outro music, the Ode to Jim.
14 years on the radio, Jim Greenfield served humanity. His bosses fired him 7 times. They said he's no Sean Hannity. Greenfield tried to stay out of trouble and be discreet as best he could. He claims the reason he got canned behind the mic, he's just too good. Jim's enemies tried to silence him in panic and hysterica, 'cause Jim Greenfield blames them for the decline and fall of